Hey everyone, thanks so much for checking out Take Notes with Dan Razga. These conversations are intended to inspire, encourage, and motivate you into the potential that you have. So pull up a chair, put your headphones in, and let's take some notes and grow together. What's going on, Ben?
Hey Dan, how we doing, man?
Good, dude. Well, hey, I wanted to have a conversation with you, and so here we are. Everybody, this is Ben Niemann. Ben, Super Bowl winning linebacker, Kansas City Chiefs, and somebody that I used to play baseball with. We were on a travel team together, Ben. I don't know if you remember that.
And the lightning, baby.
Lightning. Yeah, my dad for sure takes credit to your success, which makes definite sense. You always get where you are from your fourth grade travel team. Like,
He was baseball coach, yeah.
no, yeah, dude. Well, for people who don't know, we do kind of go a little bit back just from growing up in the same town, but you've obviously gone very far in your career. And a lot of people here, especially in Central Iowa, are like curious about your journey, how you got there. We're super proud of you for what you're doing, winning the Super Bowl. It's just really cool. So I figured, hey, let's kind of have a conversation about it, man. So you're on your bye week, you were telling me. So thanks so much for making time to do this. What's a bye week look like for you? You know, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, with COVID, everything's a little bit different this year. The NFL actually has a pretty strict system in place, so you can't really go out and about and do too much, or else you're subject to getting fined and all that if, stuff surfaces of you being places you shouldn't. But no, really just kind of getting my body back, got a couple of workouts in, go in, getting the, hot and cold tubs, and then just try to get off my feet, relax. And, we're lucky we actually got our bye week this year. A couple other teams like New England and Denver, Pittsburgh, they kind of got their strip just because they had games canceled last minute. So definitely thankful for that. But
yeah. So you're grateful for your bye week for sure. It sounds like, yeah, it's interesting. Like fans like hate bye weeks because we're like, we can't see our team, we can't see our people, but obviously the people who are out there playing probably appreciate it. Yeah, dude, you mentioned COVID. What's that like? Yeah. What's the whole journey been like? You won the Super Bowl and not too far after that, COVID happens. Let's start back even in like March. What were you doing in March during COVID off-season workouts and stuff like that?
yeah, it's crazy. Won the Super Bowl, and then I go back and work out at Iowa where I played, and I'd been working out there. My family actually had a little vacation planned trip down to Mexico, and kind of COVID started coming about right as we were heading down there, and we were lucky enough to get the vacation in. And then when we were down there, it's kind of when things got crazy, and we didn't know if we were going to get stuck down there or whatever. We ended up getting back, which we were lucky. Got to enjoy some nice weather, and then from there we were supposed to have OTAs and all the off-season stuff with the NFL, and kind of everything just got thrown up in the air. What's going on, how are things going to go? So then that ended up all being virtual as kind of the virus was going around. And then eventually, I ended up working out just in a garage gym of a family friend. So kind of brought me back to like the high school days, just,
Yeah.
the grind kind of, and, then from there ended up, everything virtual. Didn't even think we were going to be able to go to fall camp, and probably, the week we were supposed to start fall camp, we kind of got the green light and said we were going, and it was off. But kind of just been an adjustment period this whole time, and kind of having to be ready to do things on the fly. So
Yeah, man, that's pretty much what we're all having to kind of be forced to do, unfortunately. But yeah, you mentioned Super Bowl. I want to talk about Super Bowl. I want to talk about Kirk Ferentz. I want to talk about Andy Reid. I want to talk about Mahomes. I want to talk about all the things that I would anticipate others wanting to like kind of know about for sure, because I mean, yeah, I just can't. I'm a huge Andy Reid guy. Obviously, like used to be an assistant coach for Green Bay Packers. Not much has changed since the fourth grade, which is probably the last time we saw each other. I still love the Packers, of course. What's it like having a guy who's perceived to be, just like a player's coach, but a coach who's had success, a coach who just seems chill, a coach who is very, very good. What's Andy Reid like? What's your relationship like with him?
Yeah, he's a great guy, and like you said, he's a coach who really puts his players first. Whatever is in the best interest of the players is really what he's going to do. Whether that's scaling things back if the team is banged up, taking care of guys' bodies, just a player's coach, and he's a fun guy to play for. He's got a good sense of humor, as I think people can tell, kind of with
Yeah.
His old Tommy Bahama shirts and cheeseburger
His
jokes.
wardrobe is fantastic. I mean,
Oh yeah, for sure. Probably number one in the whole league for coaches.
him and
So
Belichick are like right there. I love it,
yeah, he loves the Air Force Ones. So
dude.
yeah.
That's awesome.
When actually, so we had media day down in Miami for the Super Bowl, and the whole team got matching sweatsuits and just gear to wear for this media day, and they gave the whole team Air Force Ones just so
Nice.
Coach Reid could have the shoes that he liked and were comfortable to him too, but they're swaggy, so it was cool.
Yeah, dude. Oh, I love that. That's cool. It sounds like he's the kind of guy that everyone thinks he is. Just a great person. Sidestepping back a little bit, back to COVID. Like, what have workouts been like with things being virtual, you being forced to do things away? How much accountability have you had to your organization, to the Chiefs? How much like individual responsibility have you had to be like, you're not checking in at least prior to the season, as much as you used to for workouts? Like, how much of it was like, hey, I need to get this done. There's a lot of personal responsibility for me because I want to win another Super Bowl and I have a season I got to get ready for.
Yeah, for sure. That's a big thing. And, this year was different as well, just because so many training facilities and complexes were closed. If you don't do the little stuff and get your body right, you're going to, have soft tissue injuries, come back, not be healthy in training camp. So part of that too is, you got to take care of yourself. And if you don't, it's going to show up, in you not being healthy in your performance on the field. So that was big time. But luckily I had a good group of guys to work out with. I was back in Iowa, like I mentioned, and my brother and the team, they were kind of in the same boat there. So I was able to work out with him. And then I have two buddies that I played with at Iowa, Jake Gervais and Parker Hesse, who are with the Rams and Titans. And I was working out with them as well. And then my brother, his girlfriend is from Iowa City, so she has a little brother who plays at Kansas State, and that's kind of where we got the garage gym connection there through a family friend. So he was with us there. So we had a good little group going, and it was fun, man. We got after it. So
Yeah, dude. You mentioned your brother. I'd love it if we could like backtrack big time back to kind of just your roots and your family. Like, you guys are like have football in your veins. Tell us a little bit about your dad, about your brother. Let's start there. Talk about your dad.
Yeah. So my dad, he coaches football at Iowa. The defensive line coach. He's kind of moved around, just being a coach's kid in a football family. Going from job to job. Moved around a little bit growing up, and that's where obviously you and I crossed paths in Indianola there when he was the head coach at Simpson. But he's been a couple different places. You and I, Drake, the Iowa places. I was born in Des Moines when he was at Drake, and then he's been at NIU and Rutgers in Iowa. So he's kind of been around, but I've loved every minute of it just because I'm a football junkie, and it was fun getting to grow up on the sidelines and go to practices and be around the game. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, what was it like having? Yeah, you mentioned that you enjoyed it. What was it like? Was there pressure of having your dad's like a high profile like coach, sought after coach with success, and he's bounced around to some like big programs. When did you say like, I want to play football, I want to go to college, play football, and I want to go to the NFL? Was that something you had from the very beginning?
Man, as far back as I can remember, that was kind of my dream.
Were you ever like second guessing after you lost to us in the Super Bowl, like when the Dolphins Raiders? Remember that? Like, this past year was kind of a redemption game for you. It was kind of like, I lost a Super Bowl in fourth grade.
I remember the Dolphins and Raiders. We shared a practice field, if I remember.
Yes.
Man, you guys had some crazy coaches. I would always look over. You guys would be running like 110 sprints, getting And
Yeah.
you know that, and I was like, I'm happy I'm on this field over here.
My dad was like the third softest coach on the team, if that gives you any indication.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we heard a lot of four-letter words at fourth grade. We had a lot of people quit. And in 2020, I don't think coaches could coach fourth graders like that. But yeah, so you're saying as early as you can remember, football was what you kind of had your eyes set on.
Yeah, I think so. My dad was always good about it with me and my brother, just kind of stepping back and not trying to be too much of a, a coach dad, and just kind of being a regular dad, supporting his kids, saying, if you guys want to play sports, if you want to play football, that's great. If not, that's fine too. But whatever you choose to do, just do it, to the best of your ability and as hard as you can, put maximum effort in. But with me and my brother both, I think just from the beginning, we loved football, grew up around it. Man, as far back as I can remember, it was, waiting for my dad to come home from work so me and my brother could put on our, fake uniforms and go tackle each other in the basement with, him. So just, yeah, from the beginning, I always loved it. But
Yeah. Yeah, and you fast forward to junior, senior year in high school, your first team All-State both years. You're in those years, you're looking towards college. Where were you at? You were in Illinois, right?
yeah.
What school? You ended up at University of Iowa, obviously, which we love. But, what were you thinking in those years? Were you looking at any other schools? Was Iowa where you had your mindset? Because your dad wasn't there yet, So what were you thinking?
Yeah. So in high school, I played receiver, and then I played a little bit of safety as well, but kind of receiver was my identity. And my dad was a defensive coordinator at Northern Illinois, and they had some success there. They went to the Orange Bowl, ended up losing to Florida State, but the program was in a really good spot. And originally I was committed there, and I was like, kind of shut down my recruitment and just said, I'm going to play for my dad at NIU, the hometown team, good program. It'll be a good fit for me. But then, as the recruiting process kind of went on, Iowa got in contact with me, and, born and kind of raised in Iowa, where I felt like that's where my roots were at, felt like home. And, I kind of stepped back and realized with the amount of success that NIU was having, if I went there, my dad probably wouldn't end up being there for all 4 years, just because, the head coach would move on and, take a better job. And with that would, come change with the rest of the staff. So, I said, do I really want to be at NIU if my dad's not here, and will I have regrets of, not going to Iowa or wherever else? So that's kind of how that went. And I ended up taking a visit to Iowa with Keegan Render, who
Right. Yeah.
he and I were on the Dolphins losing.
I was going to say another Dolphin. Yeah.
Yeah. But he went, and I took a visit on the same weekend he did, actually. And I think he was already committed at that time. And, it kind of just the rest was history from there. So,
Yeah. No, dude, I mentioned this before, and you mentioned Keegan too. Like, the kind of community that we grew up in. We're not in, these places in Texas or California, places that produce, a lot of professional athletes. So when people go on and do that, like, there's an immense amount of pride that we have for guys like you, hype you up. We for sure overstep our relationship a little bit, being like, oh yeah, Ben, like, I know Ben really well. Yeah, we're like really tight. When, like, we kind of do that. Like, oh yeah, I'm like really good friends with Chiefs linebacker. But we do that because we are like really, really proud. And one moment that I remember when you were at Iowa was the game against Northwestern. You blocked the punt. You returned it for a touchdown. That was later in the season, if I remember right. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you were kind of on special teams at that point. It was earlier in your career. And then it seemed like from there you were in. Like, you were very involved in their program. You were very involved in their defense. I just remember that being a huge point of like, oh yeah, Ben's like, sweet. That was amazing,
Yeah, that was on the back half of my freshman year, and like you said, I was kind of playing special teams. And then, as the year went on, the back end, like the bowl game, I played a chunk of defense in that. And then, my next 3 years, I was fortunate enough to get a start at outside linebacker. So that kind of was a stepping stone in my development as a player. But yeah, that was, I didn't know it at the time, but that was probably the coolest, moment I would have in my career was as a true freshman. So that was a really cool experience.
Totally, man. There's been a few of those moments in your career that all of us, are watching the game together back home, like freaking out, of course. And then from then on, you're looking at Iowa's defense, it's 44 and 43, you and Josie, it's just, that
Yeah.
was like so cool. So you're at Iowa, you're doing well, you're starting. What was the extra level of commitment and work that set you apart to, do you believe that set you apart to eventually be in the NFL? Because, you're a junior or senior in college. I'm assuming you're surrounded by people who are all trying to get to the same place. And as you know, I mean, most don't. What was it like for you when, or did you not change anything? Were you always like putting in that much work, or was there ever a time where you had to change a switch and be like, if I want to do this, it's go time?
Yeah. I don't know. Football's always been a priority to me just because I love the game so much. So I don't know if there was some crazy switch I made or anything like that. Kind of just sticking to the process. The biggest thing for me, coming in, like I mentioned, I was a receiver. So really it was just getting stronger, trying to gain weight. And, Coach Doyle at the time was a strength coach at Iowa, and just, putting everything I had into my development there, just getting stronger, gaining weight, and doing that kind of thing. And once I did that, my performance on the field changed, as well as my confidence level. Just when you make strides and make gains in the off-season program, it gives you that confidence boost. So
Yeah, obviously, like Iowa, people think Iowa football, people think Kirk Ferentz. What's it like working, or being on the team of another head coach who has lots of success, very well loved by the people, the program. It appears to be, again, like a player. People say players coach, and sometimes those people are like not respected. It's more like they're the fun guy, but like I don't mean to say players coach like that. I just mean to say players coach as in, a guy that players like really love to play for. They're really committed to. People talk about Kirk Ferentz like that. I mean, what was your experience playing for, an Iowa football legend like that?
yeah, absolutely. No, I've just been really blessed to play for, two really good head coaches, in Coach Reid and Coach Ferentz. A lot of people don't get that opportunity. And they're at a school, and their coach will leave. In the middle of their career. I think Coach Ferentz, this is like your maybe 22 for him that he's in right now. I'm not totally sure, but that's just honestly unheard of at this level. So super fortunate. He was just a first-class guy in everything he did. I would say the biggest thing with him is he really takes a genuine interest in you as a person and your family. He'll walk down the hallway, and, we had managers on the team, and he would know the managers' parents' names, their girlfriends' names, everything, which you just don't see in a lot of places, whether that's in the sports world or that's, in the business world, and, you're working at your job. So he really just is a genuine guy, and, puts his players first. So.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're right. You've had two great head coaches. You've been pretty lucky with that. So I was over, you transitioned, you're on the Chiefs. What's the first year like for you? You were playing, it appeared to be more like mostly special teams, doing what you could do. What were you thinking? You're in your first year. Are you still just sticking to the process that's worked for you up to this point, or was there any other, things that contributed to you eventually seeing more time on the field?
Yeah. Me being undrafted at that point, it was just kind of taking the attitude of what little things can I do? What role can I have to make this team, and most rookies are gonna play a lot of special teams. So that's kind of where I knew I needed to find my niche. In Kansas City, we have, a top 5 or 10 special teams unit almost every year. Just Coach Tobe, our special teams coach here, is basically like a legend special teams coordinator. Yeah. So he made it fun to get in there and try to, help pop off big plays, whether it's big, punt returns, kick returns, whatever. So that's kind of where I got my start. And, I still play a lot of special teams, and I love it. So, last year I remember the playoff game against Houston, the wild one, where I think we were down like 24-0 and ended up coming back and winning by like 30 points or something. But that game, special teams, we made a couple really, really big plays, and just shows how big all three phases are in the game. And,
Yeah.
Even the littlest of plays, or what people perceive as little with special teams can, really turn the tide. So.
Yeah. I gotta ask, like, this has got to be a normal question to like normal people, like who are watching professional athletes. Like, what's the difference in tackling an NFL running back and a college running back? Like, I mean, you have to tackle like Derrick Henry. You have to tackle like truly though. I know that kind of sounds like such a fan, like, but truly, like, what's it like having to tackle like just massive running backs, big athletes?
Yeah, what our defensive coordinator says always is kill the engine. So the legs are the engine. If their legs aren't pumping, they can't run. So you can't just go in and arm tackle people. You really gotta wrap up, and a lot of times it's multiple hats, multiple guys on the ball. So like you said, there's big physical backs like Derrick Henry, and you can't come in there high. You can't come in there.
You could, I guess. You would just be like, you would literally be all over the internet, plastered as like those poor defensive backs that we all have been looking at this year.
Yeah. So
how much of it has been like, you've talked about training, working out. You in high school you were a receiver, defensive back. Now you're obviously a linebacker. I would think that would have taken a lot of diet, of strength. What's your strength training like diet like now in the NFL?
Yeah, I'm fortunate just with the Chiefs, and I think most organizations are this way, but you get a lot of your meals from the complex. They have a cafeteria and are constantly, feeding you out food. So from that standpoint, I'm lucky. For me, I remember back in high school, I was like 180 pounds, like my junior year or something. And I was trying to gain weight. So it was always eat a snack in between your meals. I'll bring like a peanut butter and jelly, protein shake, trail mix, that type of stuff with me to school, and eat it throughout the day. Just try to get extra calories in you. So that was kind of my approach to gaining weight and getting extra calories in me. And then, from a strength training perspective, you kind of dial it back a touch in the season just because, your body's beat up and sore. But you also got to stay on top of it just, to keep your strength up as well as for injury prevention and all that. So, still lift during the season, but then the off season probably lift a couple more times a week or condition a couple more times a week and, kind of dial it up a notch. So.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you mentioned kind of like those things throughout the week. On game day, let's say you're, to us people here in Central Standard, it's a noon game. What's your game day routine? What time do you wake up? Do you eat breakfast? Do you tell us all the details, really. Like, what are you doing from wake up to game time?
Yeah. So we stay in a hotel the night before a game. I usually, will get up around like 7:30 or 8, get a shower, wake myself up, and then eat breakfast at the team hotel. From there, we got to be at the stadium 2 hours prior to kickoff. I usually get there a little bit earlier, like 2.5, 3 hours before the game. Get in the hot tub before, just kind of loosen myself up a little bit, then go out and, just do a little bit of light warm up on my own. Get my body feeling good, whether it's stretching, whatever, just so I feel like I'm in a good spot. And then from there, it's, the team warm up, and then, we're kind of off for the game. So, that's a routine.
Yeah. What's it like? Obviously, like, it's taken a bit to get to this, but I'm super interested. What's it like having like Pat Mahomes as your quarterback? Like a guy who is recognized, like, how he didn't win MVP last year, I don't really know. Like, great. But in this year, obviously an MVP like season, like, he's just like so freaking good. What's it like being on the other side of the ball, knowing like we have the best quarterback in the league? Are you on the sideline being like, I mean, I might as well not sit down. Like, we're gonna score in like 3 minutes. Like, kind of joking, but seriously, what's it like having like Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, our offense can just score so quick. We have, Pat, and he's surrounded by so many weapons, with Tyreek and Kelsey and Sammy and all those guys. So it's crazy, man. some of the stuff he does is unreal, but at this point, it just doesn't surprise me as much as it used to because I've seen it so many times, whether it be practice, or the game field. So I just don't really put anything past him. But like I mentioned earlier, that Texans game, we were down, I think 24-0 in the first half. And at that point, we knew what we had, as a team, but also offensively. So it's really like, no lead or no, deficit that we're facing is too big for us. So it's
Right.
exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it has to give you like a level of like confidence and knowing like you're in every game. I mean, having that person on your side. What kind of guy is he like? I mean, I'm pretty sure he's younger than I am. I'm almost 26, like next week. What's it like having a guy who's so good? As just a football, I love football, and he's a young guy. He's compared to, as like, man, he slings it like Favre, who's my guy. He's a football dude. He seems like a nice guy. He's so good, but he's not – he appears to be like a normal person. He doesn't appear to be letting that fame like get to his head. He goes out there and continues to play. Is that the kind of guy that he's like off the field?
Yeah, absolutely. He's a team guy. And off the field, like you said, he's not too big for anybody. Goofing around in the locker room, playing games, doing whatever, we kind of do in our off time. He's always in the thick of it. So,
Right.
I think that's what's special about our offense and our team. We have a lot of big name players with the Chiefs, but no one's too big for the team or, acts like they're above everybody else, which I think, makes us so close and what's, been so special about kind of this success we've had as of recent. So
Yeah, man. I mean, and I don't know if I'm right in like saying this, but it seemed like a lot of times, especially last year, watching you guys throughout the postseason and games that are obviously the most important games in your season, third down and long is coming, a perceived pass play, obviously, and you're running out on the field. It seemed like you were out on a lot of third downs, which to me communicates you're trusted by your coach, you're needed out there, you're contributing. I mean, what did it feel like to be like, this is a time to be in the game, we need a stop, and you're running out on the field?
Yeah, that was kind of, I guess, the package I've been a part of these last 2 years, which is fun, just getting to play defensive snaps. And like you said, a lot of times they're big snaps, where we got to get a stop and get off the field. So it's been a lot of fun. And, we've had a pretty good third down defense these last 2 years, which is, pretty, that red zone situational football is critical to, having a good defense. So it's been fun to be a part of that.
Yeah. What I got to talk about the Super Bowl. So I'm watching the game with a lot of guys that Blake Dowson, Andy Arndt, Tyler Nicholson, all these guys are there, James McConnell. And the Super Bowl is going kind of like how other games in the playoffs were going, like for the Chiefs, but it was always kind of comical just how like sometimes the game would go because you knew like, well, they're coming back, and there's a moment, I think, in the third quarter where like you have a hit on Jimmy Garoppolo, and it seemed like that was a huge catalyst in the game. And of course we see the play happen. We're like, who is that? And we're like, it's Ben. And it was like, everyone was freaking out. But I mean, that was a big play. What did it feel like to be like, truly, I'm not the only one who said this. Like that play was a huge like play in the Super Bowl that totally changed the trajectory, gave you guys a ton of momentum that you hadn't had prior. I mean, what did it feel like to like have a huge contribution to winning the Super Bowl for your team?
Yeah, that was definitely a special play. And at the end of the day, it's just me doing my job, doing whatever I can do to help the team win. But it was fun to, just have an impact like that, and, Super Bowl being the biggest stage. So I don't know. There's not too much to say. That moment's kind of just a blur, to be honest, just because of how excited I was and all that. But I was looking back, it's definitely special. So
yeah, no, Ben, and you really strike like me now, even as like you are a Super Bowl winning linebacker for the Kansas City Chiefs. You've had a lot of really cool things happen in your life, but you're a normal guy who's said yes to being on like a podcast to a new real estate agent. Like, what the heck? but that like speaks to kind of like who you are as a person. Tell us a bit about that. Like, what's it like being somebody who in the public eye is seen as, kind of this elevated place of like entertainment, and you for sure are that, but obviously, you have a normal life, you have a family, you have friends, you probably like to go to eat some of the same places other people do in Kansas City. Like, what's your life like outside of football?
Yeah. I think a lot of that just kind of goes back to how I was raised and my parents. And, at the end of the day, football, what I do, it doesn't define me as a person. There's more to life than that. Just my parents from day one always, be humble, be humble, be humble. Anything can be taken from you at any time. So, that was, I guess, a big part of that. And, at the end of the day, I feel like I'm just, an average guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Nothing too crazy about it. I think it goes back to just how I was brought up and how I was raised, though. So
Yeah. No, did you see some of that same like attitude in Casey Blake, who's walking around Indianola, not, he's going into Hy-Vee just like anybody else, going to all the things just like anybody else. And people notice that, man. People for sure notice that about you, and it's really cool. But a question I've been waiting to ask is, as we kind of wrap up, what's it like? It tells you how well I would do in the NFL. Obviously, I wouldn't play in the NFL, but like personnel-wise, I'd be on the field thinking like, dude, that's Aaron Rodgers over there, like warming up. Like, that's like, how did you ever have that? Like, did you ever have that feeling of like, I am like lining up against the ball. I'm lining up against Russell Wilson. Like, I'm lining up against – that's such a fan question. But I am a fan, so I mean that, But did you ever get that? Do you still get that like, wow, this is like a very known person who is a very good athlete, very good football player. I watched him. I used to have him on my video game, Do you still get that?
To be honest, not too much. Maybe early on in college, I kind of had some of those feelings when we would play, big name people. But, you kind of, I don't know. I guess I don't know if you want to say grew out of it or what. But at the end of the day, you're going to compete against them and, you're trying to win. So, when you put a helmet on and you get on the field, you can't really, analyze, oh, I'm going against this person. Oh, I'm going against that person. It's, strap it up and go full speed and do your job. So, really that's, I guess, how it's been for me. When you're going to tackle somebody, it's not really analyzing, who has the ball. It's just going and hitting it, trying to make a play. So,
yeah. No, I appreciate that. It's just, again, it's such a fan like question of like, oh my gosh. But I'm sure when you're in there, you're like, hey, dude, I don't have time to think about that. Like,
yeah, you really don't.
The ball,
Yeah, it just distracts you from what you're trying to do. So,
yeah. Well, you're having an amazing season. Your team's doing really well. I guess last question would be, obviously Super Bowl II is on your guys' mind. It would have to be on some level. How are things going? I mean, how do you see the team in week 8 or 9 compared to last year where you won the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I think we're in a good spot right now. Just kind of trying to take it 1 week at a time. And if you look, too far down the road, too far ahead, it kind of distracts you from the process and the steps you have to take to, ultimately reach that goal and get to where you want to be. But I think we're in a good place. It's fun this year. Last season, we're learning a whole new defense, as the year was kind of getting kicked off there. We had a new defensive staff. So this season, it's been good. It's been nice being in camp and, the first half of this year being comfortable in the system.
Yeah.
So that's been good. But, just trying to take it 1 week at a time. And, ultimately, like you said, our goal is a Super Bowl. We want to run it back, but gotta, go through the process to get there. So,
yeah. Well, that's all I got for you, man. Thanks so much for your time. Seriously. Like I said, making us proud here for sure. We root you on. We love seeing you. We're proud of you. And we're hoping that you get another ring this year for sure, man. So thanks for your time. It means a lot.
Sure. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on. So
yeah, thanks, Ben. Thanks so much for checking out Take Notes with Dan Rosga. If you found the conversation helpful, I'd love if you subscribed to my YouTube channel and shared it with your social media friends. I'd also love the chance to serve you or someone you know with any real estate needs. Please send me an email or give me a call to my contact information below on the screen. Again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.